Done.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for your time this morning, and sorry for the late start, but I promise to finish within the hour, and hopefully I'll leave plenty of time for questions and hopefully some nice discussion. So just a quick introduction again to people that haven't been to one of these sessions before. The whole point of it is actually spurred off from the Innovation Board and trying to drive thinking and digital TR mindset fire starting conversations with your clients. So and hopefully learning some new cool things. Just so you know who I am, I'm the Digital Marketing Manager at TNS UK and have random digital experience and a passion for digital, and yeah, anything sort of tech enabled I kind of love and love talking about. And so this neatly topical title of is the porn industry a digital trendsetter? As we're mainly a research audience, what do you think? So show of hands, is the porn industry a digital trendsetter? Does anyone want to brave out the or even the dark web? Yeah, okay, interesting, cool. So what I'm going to hopefully take you on is a bit of a journey and learnings from some research I've done around the porn industry and how they've actually innovated way ahead of any other market, any other type of business that's out there, and completely smash it to obliteration, but no one will ever talk about it. It's a taboo subject. Even talking about it now, I was quite nervous to even talk about this as a potential topic, and ran it by several senior members of staff to make sure that it was actually, can I talk about this or not? So hopefully it's not too in your face, but hopefully you'll get a lot of learning from it. So, what are you actually going to get from this session? Hopefully, said some technological innovations driven by porn that no one knows about, and they actually spearheaded some of the biggest things that we're talking about in digital innovation, technology across the board. But no one even knows who these people are or what they've done, or because again, as I said, it's a taboo subject. And then thinking about new data sources beyond traditional digital. So not just thinking about digital, but even traditional digital. Great, we're doing social media research, that's nice, but what other tools has TNS already got, and innovations is TNS actually working on? That's way out there and way ahead of the game. And it's something that we should all be talking to our clients about. Hopefully you'll get a flavour of that today. And we've got some experts in the crowd that will also be able to participate. And what's market research's position? Where do we want to go next? So some of this might be a bit sort of out there, but hopefully it's something we can start thinking about with our clients, and it's things that our clients from a marketing perspective are taking on board. So I won't actually go into the detail, actually, I was going to start spinning out all the topics. But let's start with the technological innovations. So have they been a marketing innovator? I think they've always been a marketing innovator from day one. I'm talking over 25,000 years ago. So before this relationship with sex, adult industries, etc., this was already out there way before anyone else started. There was a Nubian 4-centimeter high stone sculpture that was carved out, and just so you know, I'm just thinking of this topic as a sort of a conceptual case study piece. So when you're talking, this Nubian case study was over 25,000 years ago. There was already these carvings and things with personal connections and building personal relationships and contextual work going on. But where did it actually lead to in terms of modern day content? So how did the porn industry make the internet sexy and drive it to its sort of high peaks? E-commerce, in that sense. E-commerce, in terms of e-commerce sites, apologies. E-commerce, yes. So the first actual innovator of e-commerce websites, a commercial e-commerce website, was a lady called Danny Ash. Self-proclaimed, this is a quote off the internet, geek with large assets. She is a very commercially savvy-minded woman who was way ahead of the game. I'm talking early 90s, before even eBay, PayPal, Amazon, at least 5 or 6 years ahead of the game. And in the 90s, she already had a business that was turning over $8 million, had 45 staff, and it's a one-woman band. It's a one-woman entrepreneur that had taken over the world. She was getting over 1 million web impressions per day at that time. And this is in the early 90s, right? So very, very early on. She had smashed all the other eBay wasn't even a thought, and now people talk about eBay and Amazon being innovators in the market. She was leading this trend way before anyone else did. So how did that actually happen? It was she was brought into this whole industry, utilizing her brain mainly because she did set up a completely brand new e-commerce site, innovating way ahead of the game. Worked with her husband, who's actually a film and cinematographer entrepreneur, not within that field. He's actually theatrical, and they brought their whole community together, used both their sets of knowledge, and built something that was way beyond time. But no one knows of her. If you Google her, her name will come up. So that's Danny Ash. Definitely have a check out on her Wikipedia page because it's quite an interesting story in terms of how she developed the business and took. Started making the internet sexy and bringing it to a wider audience. Bandwidth. So, it's a slightly boring topic, obviously, talking hardware, but bandwidth is really important. Who has internet issues sometimes when we're in the office and you're trying to log onto a page and it's just not loading in time, etc. Right? Just imagine that in the early 90s. When you're trying to log onto a page and internet infrastructure is not even built yet. And who was actually pioneering this? The porn industry. They drove commerce, governments, big businesses to actually dig up the roads, move towards the fibre option. That's why we've now got Usain Bolt standing there, like with, oh no, it's that one, isn't it? Yeah, Usain Bolt standing there for Virgin and driving all this knowledge. That's a really clever way in terms of thinking about how they've pushed our infrastructure forward. Yes, we still have IT issues and web broadband issues, etc. But they've made that path to commerciality faster. They drove that path to commerciality much faster. And video streaming. So, porn industry, video streaming. They took the natural evolution of that way ahead of time as well. I'm just going to check my notes again. When was it? Yes, 1994. The Dutch porn company actually had built a commercial, again, another commercial site. So, banging straight back to e-commerce, there was actually a commercial video, picture, blah, blah, site that was actually streaming content live way before CNN, YouTube was even invented, Hula, whatever you want to name it and call it. But way ahead of the game again. Talking about VHS and Betamax cassettes as well, sorry to bring a bit of a random point in, but they actually drove, well they say, they drove the actual evolution of which cassette would win. So there was two types of cassettes for those that you don't know. Betamax and there was VHS. Some say, well a lot of people say, that VHS won this battle purely because of the porn industry wanting to actually distribute video content around the world. And the commerciality of it was no one's going to fight that. And it won. So there's a really clever element that they built into it. So, what's next for the porn industry? What are they doing that we could be thinking about and utilising in marketing, in market research, and across the board? Augmented reality and VR. All right? This is the next piece. But what's interesting about this is all out there in the marketplace at the moment, right? Everyone's talking about it. Everywhere you read, TechCrunch, The Drum, blah, 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 you're constantly hearing about augmented reality or VR. It's the next cool thing. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to know what it is. But has anyone ever tried VR, augmented reality? And? Yeah? So a good proportion of people in here. What was your experience of it? How did you find it? 50-50? Yeah? So, was this on commercial sites? Or was it on test protocol stuff? Beta. Beta testing? So, majority was beta. It wasn't actually commercially in the market mainly, right?
I played a few games with it on. Where you
cool, yeah. Gaming and stuff like that.
The Zoopla app had it where you hold things up.
Yep. You can see the house. And that's 360 video.
Museums.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
Theatre.
Theatre.
So the National Theatre, they had a
Perfect.
immersive.
So who's actually making money from it? They've already got a massive turnover revenue piece built up. This hasn't been Dragon's Den tested, but it's fact. They're saying by 2020 it's going to be over 20 billion in relation to augmented reality within purely not any other sector, not anywhere else, just the porn industry, right? And they're leading the way. They've already commercialized the site. So there's a popular site you can check out. I'll send some links around. I'll just clarify what I mean by that. There's actually a great. It's on TechCrunch, so it's a technology digital marketing site that has actually done a short article on what they're actually doing in terms of innovation. And I'll show you a very short clip of a post. So those that are sensitive, please do close your eyes. It's not. There's no. So I want to show you what the experience is. It's only 10 seconds.
Video. I want to show you what it's like to be in VR with Pornhub. This is a very simple video. I'm just going to do it really quick because there's not a lot of content I can show on YouTube.
Okay, cool. I'm going to stop it there. But the reason I wanted to show you and the importance of showing you that was purely that they've already commercialized this. This is in the market. No other industry has done that. Microsoft are talking about it. It's out there. There's something called HoloLens. Google have got it out there. Oh, there's a prize giveaway at the end as well. Google Cardboard, that you can do some form of VR in there. There's lots of different brands out there that are doing this, right?
The gaming industry is doing the same thing.
Exactly. The gaming industry is doing it. It's already out there with the gaming industry. And generally, it's the gaming industry in porn that is normally driving innovation, right? Obviously, I chose the more lucrative option on this in this particular topic. But your commerciality of this, that's what I'm trying to drive in terms of innovation. They are the ones leading the way. They are bringing in this whole piece about personalization, contextual marketing, driving that whole point of behavior, contextuality, having a real conversation with someone and building that in the room. As you saw, the guy, I'll show you the picture of the guy that was actually filming that, who's a sort of a digital blog writer. Slightly roundish guy like me, but you saw that he was trim and buff in the video. That was a VR piece that they put on there. There was other buttons that you could actually press on the site. So it's got engagement, interactivity. It's actually engaging you in the contextual environment that you're sitting in. That's a really powerful piece. I'll be able to show you more in this video. Instead of me just talking, there's an example of something which is actually commercially out in the market. It's called Microsoft HoloLens. It actually brings in this VR augmented reality world to life in a practical business and personal environment.
Look around. Technology is all around us. We use it in every aspect of our lives. It enables us to do amazing things. But what if we could go further? What if we could go beyond the screen? Where your digital world is blended with your real world. Now we can. This is the world with holograms. What will they enable us to do? New ways to visualize our work.
You know, I have an idea for the fuel tank.
New ways to share ideas with each other.
How are things going your end?
I just put the images in OneDrive.
Perfect.
More immersive ways to play. New ways to teach and learn.
So put the new trap in the place of the old one.
Now what?
And tighten here and here.
New ways to collaborate and explore the places we've never been.
Look at this formation. Let's take a closer look.
And new ways to create the things we imagine. Because when you change the way you see the world, you can change the world you see. This is Microsoft HoloLens.
So cool. Quite an interesting concept, right? But how does that actually even link to market research? And how can we actually potentially think about this in the future or now? So could this help with qualitative research, building it into a completely different immersive environment where we've got them in the moment, thinking about a product or getting their thoughts on an idea in store, in their homes. They don't even need to be a part of to come into a central location to have a focus group. Could you actually do this virtually? Could you test products, etc., get their thoughts, ideas, thinking way ahead of the game? And is it that expensive? I guess not. You could think, well, they're retailing at the moment for £2,000, I think, roughly, per unit. I'm sure if we bought it on a commercial scale, that could be a different story. But just an idea and a thought. I thought it was quite interesting in terms of how it could be used in the perspective of research. I'm going to take you on to something slightly different. And then we'll have a case study that we'll go through. So these are cool little things that I've found that I really liked, and I think they will have a real benefit to market research. And it builds in this whole point about contextual and behavioural marketing and in the moment, which I think is really, really important. And it goes beyond this idea of looking at social, because social's been around, it's like old news at the moment, right? It's been there, everyone knows about it, everyone understands it, and it's kind of like, oh yes, we know we can do this ourselves, or you know, how is market research going to help you? Well, obviously there's lots of ways, but what are we thinking about beyond that? So three cool things that I think are really interesting and things I found. Well, we've got Amazon Echo, which is available here, but its main reach is in the US. So this is a pod that you can buy that you can actually engage with. And what it allows you to do is order items directly through this. So it actually listens to you, to what you're saying or what you're doing within a certain time frame. But there is rumours, and this is only rumours, but it says that it actually captures a lot of extra data around you and then sends you marketing messaging through there. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories around this product. And watching you, and yeah, the whole 1984 piece is coming to life. And it's a really interesting concept though. Again, from a qualitative and quantitative perspective, I think this really gives you deeper contextual behavioural understanding of an individual in their home environment. Because there's going to be a lot of things that people, something we're talking about today with, what's the new thing that's just been released? Amazon Dash in the UK. Will it actually work culturally in the UK? And we're having this debate thinking, oh, we don't know if we want to have these buttons of brands telling us what we're actually buying all over our home. Or where we're going to hide them, or we actually buy Tesco Value, but we want to say that we buy Waitrose Premium. Yeah, and so perception versus reality, is that really going to work? But that could be bypassed with this particular product just using your voice. And I've noticed quite recently something you should check out. If you use the Google app on your phone, it's got a voice app on it where it allows you to actually voice recognize searches or queries. But what you don't probably know is that it takes obviously your quote, and then 15 seconds, within sort of 15 seconds, I think it is, after you've actually finished speaking, there is a small record which is kept, just in case there is anything additional that you might say. So you can actually go and view that online. So if you type in Google Voice Recorder, it comes up with your records, and I've actually found a time-stamped piece of exactly what I've said. And you can hear my baby crying in the background, and we're told to do dishes and all that sort of stuff. It's all, yeah, but it's quite interesting because how will that be used in the future? We don't know about data privacy. We're all clicking on and signing up for so many different products and opportunities. How does that all fit into the bigger picture? And some quite interesting stuff. Project Solly. This is a really cool thing. I was just surfing the web and came across this through a contact of ours, and said, check out Project Solly. It's something one of these lead chief digital innovators at Google is pulling together. And it's quite cool. It's actually weaving technology into your garments. So going beyond this thing about exoskeletons and having technology, attached and lights buzzing and energy being generated by your shoes and all that sort of stuff. This is actually having some form of technology actually weaved into your clothes. Yeah. So you can put this into any sort of fibre. apparently, and it's still in testing mode. But the great and cool thing about it, I thought the relationship with actually market research is, again, this is future thinking. But you can actually, when you turn the volume up, you would normally turn a dial, right? Yeah, and that's quite comfortable. You switch a switch on, you switch up or down when you're pushing a switch, right? There's loads of these things which, with your app, now it's become normal. You swipe, you know how to increase the size of a picture, reduce the size of the picture. But with this, it's taking away any sort of device, anything that you need. I don't even need this clicker potentially. It could just be that I could just flick to the next slide, right? And isn't that more powerful? You're then taking away any sort of inhibiting factors, requirement of mobile potentially, which is great, but it could potentially take everything away. And it could be, what's that film? The Minority Report, things popping up, just like the HoloLens piece. But you don't need anything, you just have an eye lens, right? So that'd be quite an interesting piece of in terms of how that could work. I thought, again, from a qualitative perspective, I think that could be quite interesting. And then I thought this is, obviously we go Canterman Go there and Pokemon Go here. Pokemon Go has then commercialized, again, augmented reality. You've got little children walking around with this app on their phone and hunting for Pokemon and going around everywhere, getting out there. And you're actually commercialized and visualized a way that you can actually use augmented reality in a gaming situation. But again, a lot of this leans towards qualitative, but it could work both ways. But that could be an amazing way to actually, again, develop qualitative research. Are you actually then hovering, I don't know why a tattoo business would do this, but a tattoo business could test different tattoos on your body. You could go in store, walk around with this piece, and if you've got price tags or information tags that are popping up around store or a new situation, it could be quite a clever, cool piece to test in the moment. Again, I think the whole thing key about this is in the moment market research, right? And that's quite a clever, cool piece. So moving on. So can TNS be as innovative as the porn industry? Well, we can help people get satisfaction, but what are the key factors to drive customer satisfaction, right? So what are the key things in terms of contextual marketing that you have there? You always want, and this is quite straightforward, hopefully most of you get this straight away, in terms of knowing what, why, when, where, and who your customers are, in terms of existing or new customers, knowing the location, what timing, etc. That whole contextual piece is really important in terms of market research, right? But what do we actually need to make sure? We need to understand the contextual factors to make the right recommendations, and I think that's really key. So we've got this cool little case study that we'll take you through. It actually uses something called locational trim. Has anyone heard of locational trim or used it? Cool. Okay. Hopefully, yeah, a lot more of you will know about it as well. In terms of what does it actually do, it helps you get closer to the actual situation. So again, it's more about in the moment market research, right? It's allowing me to be in that space, analysing a product or thinking about a specific idea in the moment. And again, it gives you more access to people that are potentially unreachable. So maybe they're not on any database, they're not being registered for any specific Tesco club card details, etc. Potentially in a supermarket example, which we are going to move into in a moment. And what it allows you to do is give actual serious level of granularity in terms of how it would actually work. So looking at sort of potentially major stores, potentially at a category level, and even at individual store level, there'd be lots of ways you could actually innovate. And how are we actually going to do this? Using something, the survey method you actually use to trigger this whole piece is Google Consumer Surveys. I'm sure everyone's heard of Google Consumer Surveys? All right? Cool. Okay, so moving on to the case study here. This is Woolworths in Australia. It's a case study from last year, but very current, I feel. You guys know about it? Yeah. Perfect. Okay, cool. So, what was actually happening? Business situation, they're failing. They're basically making less and less money, as it says there, several hundred million invested in lowering grocery prices. They were trying to entice customers back. They didn't know how. They were still losing money. How are they going to satisfy their shareholders? Are they still going to be in business, or is it going to be another BHS in the UK? What's going to happen? So there was a lot of worry around what's actually happening with this particular business. What was also going wrong was their actual research, right? So they had a research agency which was reporting that their net NPS score was actually rising, and people were loving their brand, everything was fine, so they didn't know what to do. They were revamping their loyalty initiatives, and trying to drive engagement, but they were thinking, what's going wrong? Our profits are plummeting, everyone's saying our store's the best, but what's actually happening here? So what we actually found out was actually TNS came along and saved the day. And what they actually did was, it was a partnership with Google Consumer Surveys that allowed us to actually trigger in the moment contextual behavioural surveys. So what was great about this, it covered all the national stores in Australia. It hit all the visitors within 48 hours of last visiting the store. So it was within a very short time frame, and the turnaround time was quicker. So you didn't have someone rushing around with a clipboard outside trying to develop and get that information. This was all being done within a week, right? So that's a really quick turnaround for getting the right information at the right time to the right people, right? So what was the key findings after this whole piece? So on the face of it, Woolworths had excellent performance, but in fact, the preference was lower than the competitors. Because they were interviewing the wrong people, right? What was the key recommendation? Need to improve our product range, availability, the store environment, rather than the loyalty program. So they're completely missing the point. And that was purely done because of TNS's in-the-moment research. And what was the key takeout? As we mentioned, we identified where others failed, because the research that was provided was actually turning out with TNS was actually hitting the right people in the right moment. So it actually completely got this contextual behavioural marketing point and market research point on point.
They've also just completely undone all their loyalty program changes like last week.
Really?
Yeah, so I was just getting all these emails saying, yeah.
It's actually been perfect, and that's all because of TNS's research. So that's a massive plus in terms of what we're doing. It's actually affecting businesses. And I know this is a slightly sort of wider view, but think about, and this is not the same situation, but you've got large major stores in the UK that are closing down, obviously slightly different reasons, but there could be simple changes, simple to us, but it's actually communicating that message correctly to those businesses. So I think that's our, to actually drive home this message to our clients, to let them know we're actually doing this sort of stuff, because it is really cool, and not a lot of people know about it. And I found this case study because I was trawling our sites and getting more data, and finding out through our sort of head of innovations here at TNS via the innovation board. And I think that's something that we should all take on board. That's a slightly personal note, but I think that's really important for us to. It's a great talking point to speak to our clients about these sort of topics. That's great, but that's relying on Google Consumer Surveys or additional technology. What's the next step? What's going beyond what we're doing at the moment? So that's the case study, and we've done it. Tick. Well done. You've got your gold star. Now, how do you actually move beyond this? So this is an idea I just wanted to bring out. It's a testing product. It's out there on the market, and I think it's something that's another little innovation, which I think is pretty cool, and it's something we can take advantage of. So it's using technology, and does everyone know about or know what a beacon is? Yeah or no? Yeah? Okay. So a beacon is basically, it's a unit that you can have, which can be the size of even a penny, located in different stores, that can then know that you're actually you're entering the store or walking out the store. Who's seen the Minority Report? The movie? Most people? Okay. So the Minority Report, who's the lead actor in it? Tom Cruise, sorry. Failing. There you go, that was a test. So Tom Cruise walks into Gap, strolling in, there's a sort of a hologram piece that pulls up, knows that he's walked into the store. This is slightly going beyond it. It's using his eye to recognise who he is. Think about it as a beacon. A beacon then recognises he's walked into the store because he's got his mobile on him. We've got the Gap app on his phone. He realises he's in the store. It then personalises that banner to him, says welcome Tom Cruise or whatever his name is in the film. And then says, great, we've got the jeans that you're wearing, we've got a new cut or a new look, which would be just right for you, 10% off. That's amazing, right? That's pretty cool. It sounds kind of unreal, but that, again, think about it in terms of the contextual behavioral piece, and just imagine market research doing a similar piece in terms of hitting those people really in the moment. Because everyone talks about in the moment. Obviously, in the moment, it doesn't physically need to be that second. It could be within a time period, just like we had in there, within 48 hours in that case study we went through. But that's quite a powerful piece, and I think this is something going beyond that. So it's a test in. It's a test in Helsinki where they actually had a shopping centre that gave away free physical cookies. So you have your online cookie trail. Does everyone know about that? That what you've done online is being tracked and watched by these little cookies, these invisible little things online. But this is actually a physical thing that you actually get given, put it on your keychain or in your pocket as you're in the actual shopping centre, and they gave them away free en masse. I think it was like 14,000 that they gave away. And what it gave you access to was a VIP club to gain access to all these stores, to get specific offers, understand the latest things that are coming out. It knows your name, age, date, email address, what your contact details, because you have to obviously sign up for it. So they've already got this data on you. They've built up this knowledge, and they've got these people in the moment, in that specific space, who are constantly shopping at this one shopping centre and driving customer engagement, right? And it's all in the moment. And I think that's quite clever, and it could be potentially, again, something to think about for market research in terms of how we're innovating and driving technology. So I think beacons is something a lot of our clients or customers and other brands are already actually exploring. And we need to know about it, to actually talk about it sensibly to them. I've got some other case studies which I can go through, but I will email them across in the interest of time. So there's some quite clever thinking there. And so I've dropped the batteries out the reader, moves us on finally to questions. Does anyone have any questions or ideas or thoughts? Or
on the point of beacons, there's also been some really interesting testing even on buses for TfL where they can kind of monitor, it's all location-based.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's a great way for us to push out our customer experience surveys and get more in-the-moment feedback and elements which are pain points for them, like, I don't know, staff behaviour or bus drivers and tourists.
Yes.
We all love collectively, don't we? So, yeah.
Now that's quite clever, and that's something we've already done, right? Yeah. So that's something we should be obviously talking about to our clients and developing more, especially on that whole customer experience front. That's a really important, not just a buzzword in the marketing world, but it is in sort of market research. It's a really important piece that brands want to improve and develop, and this helps you do that in the moment. Again, and we're already doing it.
Another thought, I don't know how much they've implemented like biometrics into some of these measurements.
Yes.
You almost feel long-term market research isn't going to be there. Everything's going to, or our skill set's going to have to change.
Yeah.
Because it's all about analysing the information in a
Data.
smart way rather than actually doing traditional market research. Biometrics, you wouldn't need to ask the trick questions. We know that.
Yeah, but the way I see it, I don't. And before working here, actually over 2 years ago, I didn't interact or engage massively with market research. We used to do our own little studies because probably our budgets weren't that big in the companies I worked in. But what I think, I kind of disagree with that, even with biometrics. At the moment, there's a whole craze. Who has a Fitbit or a sort of wearable? Yeah. Okay, cool. A lot of people got wearables, but what do we use them for? We count the number of steps we do. We may have a few groups. I know we've got some in TNS. We say, who's winning the step challenge? Or I've climbed the Eiffel Tower. That's how many steps I've done. That's amazing. But what does that really tell you apart from, oh, you've done a nice little thing? It's a bit boring. But where I think it develops and what's happening in that market at the moment, I think that this is where TNS does a space. You're getting more data but from different sources. So there are talks of Wearables, Apple are already doing it, Microsoft are doing it. Microsoft have got, what's it called? Net Doctor or something like that. I've got the name somewhere, but I'll ping it across in an email. But what they're doing is they'll collect all your bio data and get all that information in terms of your pulse rate, your heart rate, etc., and actually analyze it and build out recommendations for you. So it'll tell you, oh, Kunal, you're sweating and you've walked up only one flight of stairs. There's 4 steps now. You need to sort yourself out, and maybe think about a health regime program, or then this is where the brands interact. Where Walgreens are doing this in the US already, where they'll actually use that data and information and actually push it through to say, oh, come into our store. You need to lower your cholesterol. Would you take omega B? Yeah, omega B, aisle 3, 10% off. It's starting to get quite creepy, right? You're using all this data for something quite interesting. But from a market research perspective, okay, obviously that's medical. But if you're getting all this information, you need, for a brand, you still need clever market researchers to actually understand that market. Because there's data out there, everyone's got access to this data, but who can actually understand it and analyze it? We've got tons of data on our social media channels, but we're not doing anything as sexy as what some of the sort of bits that Sanando, Prarit, Will, Janaz have been working on. There's some really cool stuff, but we're not doing that for ourselves. And there's loads of brands that are not doing it. They don't understand it. And I think there'll always be a place. But the next thing I think is quite cool, but it's going to be on a separate talk. In terms of wearables, it's actually embedding information into, so it's like a chip. Because no one likes to carry maybe potentially like a Sponda physical cookie around. What happens if you just had a chip embedded into your body? And it sounds quite creepy, right? But think about it. We're all using these little, that device controls my life. I'm walking around like that, looking at my phone. When I'm on the tube, forget that. My gran and all her sisters, so these people are in the 80s and 90s playing Candy Crush on an iPad like that. They can't see clearly, but they're looking like that, and they're literally that close to it. And I walked into this room, I thought, what is going on? Like, they've taken on this whole technological revolution, and they're all involved in it. I'm involved in it. Everyone's in their own little world. So 1994 in real life, we're all becoming drones, in some sense of the word, right? So how, I think, slightly gone off topic there, but you still need market research in terms of using all that information, that conceptual data and behavioural data we're getting from all these people. Not everyone's going to be able to analyse and understand it. So you need to understand bits from our own tools that we have internally that we use, and how is our sort of USP in terms of being able to help brands be able to connect with their consumers in the moment.
Also, both your points is fusing that passive with that, sort of interactive primary research and how we get the most of it to really drive that extra and using things like monitoring behavioural change through passive.
Exactly.
And asking the right questions at the right time rather than questions.
But it's almost having a journey of change, isn't it? It's almost understanding
that whole journey and movement.
Expecting to be the needs now, because they're going to be changing.
They're constantly going to be changing, right?
Yeah.
But you can use that. Exactly with that data, there's smart jewelry out there that measures, obviously, it's smart earrings. So they actually measure your pulse, and apparently this is the best place to measure your pulse rate. So the sweat and the pulse being measured off your earlobe is now, you could ask the survey at the same time, and you've got this data and knowledge, understanding how your consumers are behaving, and is different imagery affecting them in different ways. That'd be quite a clever tool, which I think we at TNS can actually absorb and have the knowledge and skill set to do. And because of our size and our number of networks, etc., being part of Cantor and WPP, we've got lots of access to lots of different people. And at TNS, we're already innovating. This is a perfect platform for us to actually constantly evolve. And we are evolving. This whole TER piece, in the moment research, it's all being driven. That wasn't being done a couple of years ago. Even say a couple of years, I was going to say 2 years ago. We're already completely moved in a different space. Since I've joined, I've seen so many changes and an evolution to what we're doing, and it's so exciting. And there's lots going on in market research. I think this is some of the sort of sexier stuff that's happening out there that we're already involved in. So programmatic, that we've spoken about before, locational trim, go on and on in terms of what we're doing. But I think there's lots that we need to embrace and take on board and talk to our clients about. That's actually the guy that's helping me build a smart home. Quite some cool stuff, but that will be in a different talk. Yeah. But I guess that's it. There's no other questions.
I did have a comment. I don't know if it's a question. I think it kind of marries with what you guys were talking about. It's that you've got all this data, but then you've got the emotional response and how people self-nominate. And I think if you look at like political polling or something like that, I think with the general election in 2015, it was a really clear. If you were looking at Twitter or Facebook, you'd had really different views. And obviously the guys campaigning behind it had a very deliberate strategy. Obviously Labour, maybe not so much. But I just wonder how you kind of look at data and it's telling you all this stuff, but actually then people behave differently, and there's this whole silent minority that have a whole different emotional response. How are you going to capture that when everyone starts becoming more automated and
developed?
Interesting. Really picking up on those nuances, isn't it? So even when we look at social media data, we talk about implicit and explicit. So it's getting underneath the surface, which Qual does so effectively as well. But it's almost trying to understand, so don't take things at face value, but really understand. And I think that's where you fuse different data sources as well to add that extra context of the cause and effect. Why do people do something, and how can you be more predictive almost to understand how to preempt certain things?
Definitely, I think that's something that's happening at the moment. So there is some. We did that actually with the general election and Brexit as well, in terms of looking at the social nuances that are happening. Pretty much repeating what Shanaz said, but that's again market research. That's understanding that knowledge. And that's where I think it drives home that point in terms of, as you mentioned as well, that Helen mentioned, that market research is always going to be there. I don't think it's this whole thing of, it's the death of market research. And people are thinking that about, sort of thinking from my marketing perspective, programmatic marketing for media buyers. Oh my God, we're all going to lose our jobs. There's nothing else for us to do. This computer's going to do my job. No, it's not. Still need a human to actually build or think about conceptualizing that algorithm and monitoring it and developing it and understanding it and researching it and actually bringing out those nuances and understanding what people actually say. A computer can do it to a certain degree, yes, and it can auto-learn, yes. It can build in all that knowledge, and AI is going to develop, yes, but you still need humans to actually help to create that. So I think people get lost and forget that they're actually doing a lot of the work to actually drive it. This thing about we're doing at the moment in terms of automated marketing or automated email campaigns. People think, you press a play button and all these emails come up, and because someone's clicked on a link, then this will happen. But for all of that to be set up and to actually work, takes hours and hours and hours and weeks and months of work to actually pull that together and develop something. So that's the cleverness of the human brain. And although there's this AI and technology and people thinking market research is going to be pushed aside, no, impossible. There's too much knowledge in your brain is here to influence or be taken over purely by computers, right? I'm saying that at this moment, but we don't know. But that's what I believe.
I think it's also interesting that whole data privacy side of things. We don't know how that's going to go. Like, if everyone's collecting our data, are we just going to say, actually, everyone can go away? And the government's going to get involved and say, how? There's like a huge unknown.
There's a huge unknown, and there's especially. So it was actually yesterday before. What they call it, the Internet of Utilities. I think it was on the BBC. It was the head of National Grid was talking about how there's this whole value exchange and the business exchange. Slightly different topic, but it's quite interesting how the powers are shifting to homeowners, because they actually, a lot of homeowners are now are creating or generating energy themselves and selling it back to the energy providers. So where's this whole relationship going to lie? And the same with data privacy. It's always a value exchange. So that Sponder piece. Sponder were giving you a VIP exclusive club entry piece if you actually take one of their chips and opt into it. So there's a good value exchange in terms of data. You're like, great, I'll do that. Facebook do it all the time. How many times have you signed into a web page because of Facebook and said, I'll just put your Facebook details in there? Facebook are collecting all this data from every single source, not just on their own website, from random websites that you go onto that have nothing to do with Facebook. But they're collecting all that behavioural and contextual data about where you're going, when, what, where. But again, you always still need sort of market research to do that, but data privacy is a massive thing, which I think is going to, in the US, I think we've already opted into a lot of things that we don't want to. Recently, Facebook and WhatsApp sharing data, I think it was announced a couple of days ago, right? In terms of data privacy, what's going on there? We're going to start getting contextual ads or research on our WhatsApp pages. How's that going to work? It's going to, a very interesting topic. I'm talking about that in one of the future talks on wearables and data privacy. It's going to be quite interesting. But yeah, very topical topic. Any questions, guys? We'll wrap it up. Cool. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the session. And if you haven't signed in, please do, because we'll be picking a winner to win either a Chromecast or a Google VR piece. Yeah. So make sure your name's on the list. I'll be pulling it out of a hat. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
That's good.